There is a debate going on between futurists and preterists. The futurists believe that the whole book of Revelation still has to happen. The preterists believe that it already happened in the first century. But I found both views have a big problem. Both views basically deny the millennium reign and the season where Satan is released. In the book of Revelation and the words of Jesus, we see there is an imminence, right? In Revelation 1, things that must happen soon, right? The time is almost here. So why would God wait 2,000 years, let us slumber, and then start the millennium reign? Also the preterist view, if everything already happened in the first century and this is it, I also cannot agree with. So what is the big problem? The big problem is the millennium reign and the season that Satan is released after the millennium reign, before the great white throne judgment. So later in this video I will come to my point and show you some footage. But for now it's important to understand this verse very good, because this is a very important verse. Chapter 20. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. So when Jesus comes, Satan will be bound for 1,000 years during his millennium reign, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed for a little season. I saw thrones. So in his millennium kingdom he saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon his forehead, or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. You might say, hold on, this mark of the beast is now. I'm coming to that, I'm going to explain that. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. And this is a very strange phrase. This is the first resurrection. What is the context of this? Is it talking about the former verse? Is it the introduction of the next verse? Is the resurrection, the first resurrection of those besides the saints, right? It's about context. But blessed and holy is he that had part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And verse 11, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for him. So the preterists have a big problem here, because they don't have 1,000-year reign. They even tried to squeeze the 1,000 years into the first century. Also the futurists have a problem, because this kingdom, this physical kingdom, would be imminent. It will come soon. So lately I've been reading the book of Revelation over and over again, and I see clearly that preterists have a point, because the kingdom of Christ, this millennium reign, had to happen and come almost immediately. And it did happen. But I also see that there is a talk about more coming, a millennium reign, the release of Satan, the great white throne judgment. And that did not all happen in the first century. So what is the answer? And I've been praying about it, and I think I'm on to something. You can look up videos about Tartaria, and it is exploding all over the internet, and it is a talk about that something happened in the 1800s. Something happened there. They changed the time, they changed history. The first time I heard it, I thought it was ridiculous, but I looked at many footage and something did happen in the 19th century. And I'm not just talking about buildings that used to be 860 on top, and later they added a 1. Also coins that they changed, right? They added 1,000 years. There is much more going on. So if they changed history, what happened in the 19th century? Could this be the end of the millennium reign and the start of the period, the season where Satan is released? The Bible speaks about the saints would be resurrected, an elect group of people who will rule with Christ, who will sit on his throne. Could these saints be the people that were revered in this beautiful kingdom of God? Let's look at some footage I found in another video. And after this clip I will explain the controversy of Revelation.
Tartaria never ceases to captivate the mind of the truth seeker. As we have discovered and then meticulously examined the evidence, what we can clearly see is sufficient proof for an advanced, highly sophisticated civilization whose achievements surpass ours today. In addition, we have uncovered a large effort to hide the truth of our past, an effort that is so large it is beyond human imagination and can only be understood by taking a personal journey into our fraudulent history. After quite a bit of research and intense thought on the matter, I now believe that what we are looking back on is indeed the millennial kingdom or messianic reign of Jesus Christ as prophesied in the Bible. Not only have we been lied to about our past, but we have also been tricked into thinking that we're on a different part of the overall timeline. The vast majority of Christians today believe that the prophecies in the Bible have not been fulfilled regarding the tribulation and the second coming of Christ, and that, therefore, the millennial kingdom is yet to come. However, by researching the past through a new lens, it has become clear that this millennial kingdom period has already come and gone, and our true place in time is much different than we thought. Perhaps some of you interested in eschatology have contemplated what the millennial kingdom would be like. What would the world look like if mankind were not oppressed by the evil one? What could we accomplish if we did not have to waste our energy continuously pushing back against forces who only wish to destroy? Now we don't have to leave so much up to our imagination. The millennial kingdom is not our future, it is our past. Regarding life during this time, there is a great treasure trove of information in the paintings, sculptures, manuscripts, architecture, and all other surviving artifacts. As we explore this wealth of clues from a new perspective, we will find many of the answers we have been looking for, and inevitably, just as many new questions. While there are still a great many mysteries surrounding our history, there's only one general theory that provides a solid foundation for making sense of our past. The Old World, or what we have colloquially called Tartaria, was the millennial kingdom prophesied in the Bible. Therefore, it is a prophecy that has long been fulfilled. It was a time when a large group of normal humans, like us, were ruled over by Jesus Christ himself and a select group of people called saints. It was 1,000 years of Christ's rule which extended both spiritually and literally across the entire earth. On this channel, I will provide evidence to substantiate these claims, as well as show how the timeline deception is the key to unraveling many of the mysteries that have long eluded us.
I will leave a link to this channel in the description box because this lady made some really good videos. And we see these videos exploding now, but it is still in a new phase. So I want to add my view on top of this because we still have a problem with Revelation. Did everything already happen, or are there still things yet to happen? So if we compare the old world with the new world, there is no comparison in beauty. It was so beautiful. So what happened? Why are we going downhill so fast? So if the millennium kingdom already happened and we're living now in the last days before the great white throne judgment, what about all these predictions in Revelation? Revelation is even talking about the sun being darkened and the moon don't give off its light. What does it mean? Are we still looking up to see if the sun literally will be darkened? Well, we have to understand the Old Testament language because Isaiah used the same language as a warning for the invasion of Babylon. Isaiah 13:9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Also Ezekiel used the same language to give a warning about something that would happen in the time of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 32. I will also water with thy blood the land wherein thou swimmest, even to the mountains, and the rivers shall be full of thee. And when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven, I will make the stars thereof dark. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thy land, said the Lord Jehovah. So all this apocalyptic language, this metaphorically language, was already used and is also used in Revelation to describe something that would happen in the first century. And it did happen. Jerusalem was destroyed, and also the Roman Empire as it was destroyed. But did it really take a few centuries like they tell us in history, or was this something that was fulfilled in the first century and after that the millennium reign was installed? So if all these things already happened in the first century, how come that all the signs we live in now seem so similar to these things written in Revelation? First you must understand Satan. What is Satan? Satan means the adversary. And we see that the adversary was there from the very beginning of the scriptures. And it is translated in Babylon. We read in Isaiah that the king of Babylon fell. Later there was a new empire called Babylon, which took the Judeans away. And we even see that this Babylonian philosophy was still in the Jewish believers in the first century when Jesus came. So what is Babylon? What is Satan? Satan, or Babylon, is the one who want to exalt themselves about God, his law and his people. It has always been fighting God. In the first century, Judea was basically an Edomite dynasty ruled by the Pharisees who had Babylonian philosophy, and all this was destroyed. This rulership was destroyed. Now it was time for the kingdom of Christ. And we see that these Jews basically were vagabonds on the earth, and they had no real influence anymore because now the kingdom was installed and many people flourished, right? But according to this Tartarian narrative now, something changed in the 1800s. And isn't it a coincidence that in the 1800s the Rothschilds came up? These Jewish Babylonian believers came up, these Jewish philosophies came up again, and they have been deceiving this world for the last 200 years, creating wars, putting the whole world in bondage of usury. Isn't that a coincidence? Satan uses a people, the children of that wicked one, and Satan was released after the millennium kingdom and is now deceiving the nations. That's why the things that are happening now are so similar to what happened in the first century, because Satan uses his same devices. He is released and he wants to bring back Babylon again. Babylon, what you see now, Babylon, Marxism, communism, bondage, destruction, wars, all these are Satan's devices, and we see it we see it happening right now, right in front of our eyes. The mark of the beast, if that was in the first century, who says Satan won't create a same device now that you cannot sell or buy? Look at Revelation 18:3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Look at the world leaders. Look at our merchants. Look at our big companies. Who are they serving? Nothing changed. Why do you think, if Satan is released, that he would not use his same devices? No, we are not living in a time where everything already happened and now we are in a gradual process, because clearly we can see this world is falling apart. No, it is much more reasonable to believe and to understand that the millennium kingdom was here, but it ended, and now we are in the age where Satan is released for a season. So we are nearing the time of the great white throne judgment, where everybody is going to be judged according to their deeds. So the tribulation that led to the millennium kingdom happened in the first century, but not the entire book of Revelation happened, because Satan had to be released after 1,000 years. That's where we are now, and we still have to go to the great white throne judgment. What will that great white throne judgment be like? There will be judgment, and those who have done well will be able to enter the city. The rest will be in the outer courts, which is called the lake of fire. So I'll make a video about the lake of fire in more detail, but one promise is still to be fulfilled, and it is that Jesus will draw all men unto himself. But there will be another video. But for now, I would encourage you to look up some Tartarian videos. Many of them think that Tartarian was a totally different people, but no, these were the lost tribes. The gospel went to them and they set up this beautiful kingdom, and they even went into other places in the world. That's why you see all over the world the same kinds of buildings, the same structures, the same style of building, right? But the majority of these buildings and cities were in Europe and later America. So I hope this clarifies some things. There are still many questions I have. I'm still looking into this, but I think for now, bit by bit, everything starts to fit. God bless.